What's up, guys? Suzuki Wagon R. I just recorded a bunch of stuff and realized my mic wasn't on, so I gotta start over because it's super rainy and I can't, or you wouldn't be able to hear anything. So anyways, Suzuki Wagon R, I'm gonna be doing front brake pads and rotors. So I have Suzuki brake pads and I got the nice DIXCEL slotted rotors from Japan. So again, I'm going over all this again. I do have brake pads for the Suzuki Wagon R on my website. I will have those for sale. As far as like rotors go, let's say you want a nice set of rotors. I'm not sure I'm going to have a set of these on the website because they're kind of expensive, and storing them in my house is just, I might not ever sell them. So if you reach out to me, I'll help you get a set of these. But as far as brake pads go, that's easy. I have those on my site. So I'll have links and all that if you would like to do something of that nature. But like I said, I got to start over, so I already started. But jack it up, get your front wheel off, and let's see what we're working with. All right, let's get into it. So I'm only going to show one side because it's the exact same for the other side. Tools you're going to need. You're going to need a 19 millimeter for your lug nuts if you got the factory wheels. You're going to need a 17 millimeter, preferably half inch, because you got to break the caliper bolts and they're kind of big. You're going to need a 14 millimeter to take the guide pin bolts out. You're going to need a wire brush, which is going to be helpful to clear some of the rust off of the hub for installing your new rotor. I do have ceramic brake parts lubricant. It's not necessary, but if you're going to take your guide pins and clean them and re-lube them, it is necessary. But it's always nice to have this handy. And some high temp anti-seize to put on the hub for future removal of the rotor. Yeah, just some basic tools going to be helpful, and a torque wrench to retorque your wheels, which I set to about 85 foot-pounds. That seems to be a happy number. And then a caliper hook, because we're going to have to hang the caliper. So let's get the wheel off and get moving here. I forgot, you're gonna want a set of I believe these are M8 bolts, because we're gonna need to put them inside the threaded holes on the rotor to press it off of the hub, because it's probably gonna be frozen onto the hub. So I believe it's an M8 or an M10. This looks like an M8, and yeah, we'll thread those in and it will push the rotor off when we get to that point. We're going to start by removing our brake pads. So you're going to want to remove the lower guide pin bolt because it needs to flip up, because we can't stretch the brake line. Let's get the 14 millimeter off. This is a very good time to check your guide pins and see if they're sticking. They should be moving freely. If they are sticking, it's very easy to remove them. Just pull them off carefully with the boot, and you can take it out, clean it, re-grease it. This is all factory grease, and I want to leave the factory grease in there. So I'm not going to mess with it. It doesn't need to be messed with. But if they are sticking, you do want to take these off and clean and re-grease them. So we're moving freely. That's good. We'll get the old pads out, which these don't really need it, but I'm going to do obviously new rotors. So we're going to start fresh with new pads and rotors. And then I'm going to press the puck in. So I got my tool. Let's press the puck in, which, keep in mind, if yours are really, really low on the brake pads, you're gonna want to open your brake fluid reservoir, check where the fluid's at, because you push this in, if it's really, really low pads and your fluid reservoir is full, it's gonna spill out, and you don't want that stuff spilling everywhere. It's bad. It'll eat paint and eat metal. But let's go ahead and push the puck in. So get yourself like a brake puck resetter tool, spreader. You can also use a C-clamp and an old pad That's a very common trick, the C-clamp trick, but let's go ahead and push those in. I'm going to just kind of clean up any grease on the puck. And obviously make sure your boot's not ripped, because you don't want dirt and garbage getting inside past the boot. So that's all clean. Let's go ahead and take our brake lube. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a little bit, doesn't need a lot. Just put it on like these little flanges here on the caliper. Put it there, and then we're going to put them on the edges, just like the edge of the brake pad right here. It'll kind of keep it quiet on those shims. So the one that doesn't have the shim on it is going to go on the inside. Okay, it's in there. Now let's do the outer one that has the brake shim. And again, put a little bit of lube on the sides. Okay, perfect. We're going to go ahead and lower this down. Put our bolt back in our caliper. And you want to just like, you don't want to over tighten this bolt. It just needs to be nice and snug, because you will strip that bolt out pretty easily. They are soft. Okay, that's good. So our brake is done now. I'm not going to reset by pushing the brake pedal yet, because we want it to have enough room to go over the new caliper. I mean the new rotor, sorry. Let's, it's a 17 mil. Our handy dandy caliper hook. Okay, get that out of the way for right now. So yeah, we're gonna need our bolts to thread in there. Bingo. Man, I love floating rotors. They are so easy. Okay. These are actually like still good, so I'm gonna take these to my local Napa and get them turned. Okay, so now, we're gonna need our wire wheel, wire brush, and we're gonna clean the hub. Okay, this should be good. Now I will take some high temp anti-seize, just a little bit. And we're gonna go around where the rotor seats. Just make it easier in the future if we ever have to remove it. Okay, now let's get the new rotor on. Okay, so the trick with slotted rotors and vented, if it's a solid rotor with no vents, then it doesn't really matter. But if you're vented, you really want to make sure that you go the correct direction. So these actually, you would think, you know, in your brain, you'd be like, oh, the slots should be like going forward, so it looks like this. At least that's how I see it. But it's actually like the opposite direction. So these are directional, and you got to make sure that you go the correct direction for them to vent and cool down and work properly. So yeah, pay attention to that. This DIXCEL has a little sheet in there and tells you, you know, right hand direction, the way it turns. So yeah, anyways, go ahead, put that on. And just use a lug nut to hold your rotor on there. You don't need anything special. Okay, so now let's go ahead and put the caliper back on. Since we reset it, it should go on real easy. There we go. So I am going to tighten these up by hand as well, just because I want to be able to feel like how tight it is versus just running it on with an impact. Obviously you can start it with an impact, but I just like to do stuff like this by hand, so I know like, okay, that's how tight it is, versus an impact where I don't really know how tight it is. That's just me. You can do whatever makes you feel warm and fuzzy about it. That's good and tight. That's nice and tight. Okay, so now our rotors and calipers are on. Everything looks happy. Now let's go ahead and put our wheel back on. I kind of want to take the gold wheels off my green sandbar van and see how they look on this guy, the Sparkos. That bronze, I should say, that bronze and Sparko might actually look really cool on this thing. I might have to try that. Once I get that other bay cleared out, I don't have enough room. We're gonna torque it. I torque it to about 85 foot-pounds. That's usually a good number. I'm gonna lower it down just a little bit. I don't want the full weight of the car on the wheel. I just want it to touch the ground so it doesn't spin. Just a little bit of weight on it. It's best if you can have someone in the car hold the brakes down while the wheel is in the air and you torque it. Do a floating torque. That's the best way to torque it. But I'm by myself, so I don't have anybody to hold the brake. But I always recommend floating torque for the back because you can pull the e-brake. Because if you do a floating torque, it makes sure everything seats properly versus you dropping it to the ground and then torquing it. It could be off a little bit, and then the lug nut's not going to be able to like pull itself in properly, so you could get a, you know, an out of balance wheel essentially if it doesn't torque properly. So I always recommend a floating torque. If you have someone who can press the brakes, then they can hold the brake, but the e-brake will always, you can do that in the back every time with the pulling the e-brake. And there we go. Kind of see the slotted rotor in there. We'll be able to take stops at 200 kilometers an hour now. Yeah, it's always just the little things that kind of make it just look a little bit better. Just something different, not your boring solid rotors. But yeah, this is a good time. I'm gonna reset the brakes. Just to show you real quick. We'll reset the brakes. Okay, so we're fully pumped out and our brake fluid should be like right at the max line. Or it's a little bit above the max line, tiny smidgen. So we could suck a little bit out of there, but if it was super low, if you were super low on fluid, super low on brake pads, and then do this work, you would probably overflow your reservoir. So just keep an eye on that and add accordingly. There you go. Cool, guys. So that wasn't too bad. Pretty easy. Same side. Doing the other side is the same exact process. Cool. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. Pads. I do have pads for the Wagon R on my website, so I'll have a link. And since this happened so quick, I'm probably going to do the motor mounts on this thing as well. I'll try to make a video on that as well if you want to do mounts. But yeah, I love the Wagon R. It is such a fun car. I was planning on selling it, but I don't think I will for a bit because it's just such a nice, fun little car to cruise around in. I love it. Suzukis are the best, and I really like that K6A engine. I know it gets talked down on all the time about head gaskets and whatnot, but you know how many times I've done head gaskets on an F6A engine? Everyone talks smack about head gaskets on a K6A, but F6As have the same exact issues. So it's just annoying when people say, oh, the K6A is the worst engine. It's like, again, I have done probably 4 or 5 head gaskets on F6As, and I have not once done a head gasket on a K6A. So you hear one guy complain about it, then the next guy doesn't know anything complains about it, and then it turns into a big snowball. So I don't know. I like the K6A better than the F6A. You don't have a timing belt, timing chain. Seems to be a stronger engine. But anything has the ability to have a bad head gasket when you're not changing and servicing your coolant. And that is a huge issue with the Suzukis. These suckers are so rusty, like, I would say probably 80% of them that come in here, the cooling systems are super rusty, and that's what causes the head gaskets to fail. So as long as you stay up on your cooling fluids and servicing your cooling system, then you shouldn't have any problems. But again, that's my opinion. I have yet to see a bad K6A head gasket. Always an F6A. But anyways, cool. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. Some more videos on the Wagon R coming up soon. See you guys on the next one.